again, and welcome back to Will Henry's workshop, where nothing's been happening for quite some time. So to start with, my apologies. The thing is that a lot of the time I identify as an old retired gunsmith, but when I'm not doing that, I'm an old guy that runs a campground, and so that takes up a lot of my time in the spring and summer. So it is that I haven't even been in the workshop for gosh, it has to be almost 6 weeks. The weather, though, has been so hot lately that here in the basement workshop is one of the better places to be. So I've decided I'm going to put on hold a lot of that campground stuff and spend a little more time back in the shop. So I'll be giving up on the machinery operating and truck driving and like I say, get back to the gunsmithing for a little while. So, as you'll recall, heck, I hardly recall it, I was working on contouring a barrel, and we were just getting ready to turn the second stage here. I had offset the barrel to give me a taper of 8 10,000ths per inch, and so over 23 inches, that worked out to 0.1904. I offset my tailstock by 0.0952, which should give me that contour. And then, so I just have to turn a short section, and when I turn that, then after that, I'll have nothing to do but the transition up to the parallel section of the barrel, and that's done in kind of an etch-a-sketch manner, and we'll get to that. But I want to get this part done because, quite frankly, I need the lathe for some other stuff that's come up. I've got just a raft of work to do that's come up while I've been busy truck driving and machinery operating and stuff. So anyway, without further ado, let's see how this goes. The first part of the barrel turned really well, and if I remember right, and you see, at my age, there's always a chance I've just glossed it over, and that's not the way it happened at all. But let's hope. Anyway, so we'll turn this little section, and then I can get this barrel out of here, remount the chuck, and then make some little parts that I have to do for another job. Now, at this part, let me turn it so you can see here. I'm just going to move the camera right up. Let's see what I've got here. So as I said, we've turned this section, and it turned very well. But when I'm turning, the next part I'm going to turn is just from here to here, and I'm going to end up with a diameter here of 0.705. And so when I do that, there's going to be a little bit of an issue with deflection, likelihood, because this is quite thin. But so we'll get the dial gauge out of the way. And I'm not even going to show the workbench tonight because it looks like a bomb went off, and nobody needs to see that. Well, the lathe still runs. That's always good to know. Shut this off. I'm gonna give myself a little better mark at my finish point there. There we go. So that I don't go too far. Now, I don't know if you can see it or not, but the barrel pushed away, and now we've got some chatter. So we're going to raise the tool just a little bit. And you know what? I'm going to slow the speed down just a little. And see. And this is one thing that's actually fairly common when you start cutting at this sharper angle for this transition. Chatter becomes more likely. So let's see what we get. Again, I'll just use my hand to try and settle this down a little bit. There we go, that's much better. So there again, the slower speed, and raising the tool just a little higher above center is fairly important. That kind of holds the barrel down in place. But as I said, it seems like that sharper angle creates more of a tendency to chatter. So while this first part of the barrel just turns beautifully, this section is just a little problematic. But we'll just see how it goes. So now, as you can see, after we got going here, it's once again cutting very nicely. When it first engages, the barrel will lift up a little bit as it catches the cutter, and so for the first eighth of an inch or so, it shows a little tendency to want to chatter until it settles down, and then once it kind of establishes an equilibrium between the cutting pressure and the tension on the barrel, then it cuts along very smoothly. And so we've got about 3 more cuts to go. I'm cutting, taking a cut of 25 thousandths at a time. I'm feeding it slowly at what the heck? Yeah, 4 thousandths per revolution. So it's quite a slow feed and a moderate cut for a lathe this size. If I'm cutting on a full blank for the first few cuts, I can probably take a cut of 40, sometimes even 50 thousandths, and feed it at about 8 thousandths a turn. But if once you get the barrel turned down ways, the barrel flexes too much to allow that much chip pressure on the tool, so you have to slow down the feed or reduce the amount of cut. And in this case, I've kind of done both. But anyway, this is, as I said, cutting very well, and I think this part of the job is going to go real well. Now, normally, if I was cutting 5 or 6 barrels like that were the same contour, I would have set each barrel up and I would have turned this section first so that I would have 5 or 6 barrels turned that way. Then I would set up for the next, for the transition here, and then I would turn each barrel that way. So anyway, you do it in kind of a batch. But the thing is with these barrels, every one is a little different, so that each one is kind of a one-off. So that's just what we've got. Like I say, when it first engages, it takes a second for it to settle down, so I'll always hold it until I'm pretty sure it's reached the equilibrium there. You'll hear right now it's got just a very slight hum going on there, but that's not going to cause any trouble. And so, like I say, just the weight of my hand on it is enough to settle it down if it's showing a tendency to chatter. And because I've got old rough hands, it's not a problem to do that. Like I say, I've got, after this, there'll be 2 more cuts, and then that'll be it. And then, like I say, I'm going to set up the lathe so I can, I've got some small parts to make for the 22 that I'm fixing for a fellow competitor, and then I have a whole bunch of other stuff that I have to do as well along with this, and the other. See, I think I've got 4 more Kimbers to do, but as I said, each one needs just a little bit different treatment on the contour, and so there we are. Now, after I'd reduced the diameter enough, I was able to speed the lathe back up again, because of course what you're trying to accomplish is a given surface speed when you're turning. And once I reduced the diameter enough to reduce the surface speed, I could speed up the RPM of the machine, and then I'd have the same surface speed. And on a CNC machine, when you program it, you program in a given surface speed, whatever turns best for you, and the machine, as the diameter changes, the machine will vary its the spindle speed to compensate for the diameter of the work. And but on an old machine like this, we get to do it ourselves. We're just going to check and see where we're at here. I'm aiming for 705. I'm sitting at 750. at this end, 670, or I'm aiming for 670, and I'm at 720, so there we go, 50 thousandths at both ends. Doesn't get much better than that. So we'll take what could be our last cut, but probably won't be, because of, there again, because of tool reflection, or workpiece reflection. We'll probably have to cut this twice. Yeah, so I set that up to cut 25, but the reality is it's cutting about 15. So like I say, I'll end up having to cut this twice. And now it of course, it deflects a little more at this end of the cut, just simply because it's in the middle of the barrel. Here, as we get closer to the headstock, there's not as much flex. So there again, it's not an exact science when you're doing when you're contouring a very light barrel like this. A lot of it you kind of have to play by ear. Okay, so there it is. The final cut has been made. I did a little filing here just to aid in the transition. And anyway, it's pretty darn smooth. Now I was trying for 0.705 here, and right now it's 0.708, but it's also too hot to touch. So by the time it cools down, it's going to be remarkably close to 705. So anyway, that's that. And now I can take this barrel out of here. And as I said, now for the rest, the parallel section on this is 1.050, I believe, or 060, something like that. And so I can hold it in the chuck and support the end on the center to turn that, or I can support this end on the center and hold the other end in the chuck. Either way, and I can turn that, and then, as I said, then I do the concave transition here, and I'll show you that, and then that's it. It's just a simple matter then of fitting the barrel just as usual. Now I have, as I said, I've got I think 3 or 4 others that I have to recontour. I won't force you to watch that. Once you've seen one, you've seen them all, and but I will demonstrate some the chambering and so on. So I'll have, this will be a 6.5 by 55. Another one's going to be a 7 by 57. Then there's 2 338-06s and a 223. So a nice variety of cartridges to chamber for. And then getting away from the Kimbers, I have a Remington 700 that'll be chambered for 300 Winchester Magnum. So I'll be able to show a little bit about the head spacing of a belted cartridge and so on. So something to look forward to, and I promise you I'm going to be in the shop just a little bit more than I was over the last month and a half where I wasn't here at all. So until next time, this is Will Henry, and I'm done.